everybody, welcome back to Goodnight Lighthouse. I'm Miss Dorothy and I'm going to read you another story. And I've got a really, really special book because it's a true story. Now, a lot of the books that we read are just pretend, but this is a true story about a bear and something very special that happens. This book is called Finding Winnie, the true story of the world's most famous bear. Who's the world's most famous bear? Somebody named Winnie. Do we know a bear named Winnie? Because this says Finding Winnie. We're going to have to get into this book and see what bear they're talking about. Who's Winnie? And why is he the world's most favorite bear? Now, this is a long story, and it's a very true story, and it's very exciting, and I think you're going to be very surprised about the ending. So you get ready. You're going to have to listen hard and listen long, but it's going to be worth it. Are you ready? Good. I need you to sit up and listen up, because here we go. Finding Winnie, the true story of the world's most famous bear. Written by Lindsay Mattick, illustrated by Sophie Blackall. Could you tell me a story? Asked Cole. It's awful late. It was long past dark and time to be asleep. What kind of story? You know, a true story. One about a bear. We cuddled up close. I'll do my best, I said. Mom's going to tell him a story, but he wants a true story. A very long time ago, about 100 years before you were born, there was a veterinarian who lived in Winnipeg. His name was Harry Colebourn. A vegetarian, said Cole. Bear doesn't like vegetables. A veterinarian. It means an animal doctor. Oh, I know that, Cole said. That's what I'm going to be, maybe when I'm big. If a horse had the hiccups or a cow had a cough, Harry knew how to make them feel just right. Harry's hands were never cold, even in Winnipeg, where winters are so frosty that icicles grow on the insides of your noses. That was just the kind of doctor he was. Ooh, Harry must have been a good animal doctor. But a day came when Harry had to say goodbye to Winnipeg. There was a war far, far away, beyond the end of the country and on the other side of the ocean. And he was going to help. He would be caring for soldiers' horses. Harry rode east on a train full of other soldiers. He leaned his head against the window, watching the land scroll by, wondering what it would be like to be so far from home. Wow, he's got to go to a whole nother country to help the soldiers with their horses. The train rolled right through dinner and over the sunset and around 10 o'clock and into a nap and out the next day until it stopped at a place called White River. Harry decided to stretch his legs. On the train platform was a man on a bench with a baby. A baby? Said Cole, annoyed. He didn't want to hear a story about a baby. A baby bear. A cub. Harry stopped. It's not every day you see a bear cub at a train station. That bear has lost his mother, he thought, and that man must be the trapper who got her. What do trappers do? Asked Cole. It's what trappers don't do. They don't raise bears. Raise them? You know, I said. Love them. Yes, he doesn't think that man's going to love that bear. Harry thought for a long time. Then he said to himself, there is something special about that bear. He felt inside his pocket and said, I shouldn't. He paced back and forth and said, I can't. Then his heart made up his mind, and he walked up to the trapper and said, I'll give you $20 for the bear. Is $20 a lot? Asked Cole. Back then, I said, even more than a lot. Wow, he wants to buy the bear from the man because he doesn't think the man's going to love the bear. Captain Colebourn, said the colonel on the train as the little bear sniffed at his knees, "We are on a journey of thousands of miles, heading into the thick of battle, and you propose to bring this most dangerous creature?" Bear stood straight up on his hind legs, as if to salute the colonel. The colonel stopped speaking at once, and then in quite a different voice he said, "Oh, hello." The men of Harry's regiment squeezed by to have a look. "I've decided to name her Winnipeg," Harry told them, "so we'll never be far from home. Winnie for short." Oh, look, it looks like everybody is going to like the bear. They had a very long way to travel, and they had already gone 3 or 4 feet when Winnie grew hungry. What do bears eat?" the men wondered. "What don't they eat?" said Harry. "Vegetables," Cole reminded me. "Winnie ate vegetables," I said. "She ate everything except onions." They brought her carrots and potatoes and apples and tomatoes and eggs and beans and bread and a tin of fish and some slop in a dish, but Winnie was still hungry. "How about dessert?" said Harry, holding up a bottle of condensed milk. Taking the treat in her paws, Winnie lay on her back and hummed a happy song. As she drank, the men roared. Wow, Winnie ate so much, and then she wanted a bottle of milk. Harry and Winnie gathered with the soldiers from all over Canada in the green fields of Valcarter. A whole city of tents had sprung up there. One was a hospital for horses, where Harry went to work. Oh, look, this is where he's going to do his job. Winnie was in the army now. Harry taught her to stand up straight and hold her head high and turn this way and that, just so. Soon she was assigned her own post. Even the colonel agreed that Winnie was a remarkable bear. She might have been the best navigator in the whole army. If you hid something, could she find it? She could. What if it was farther away? And farther still? Remarkable, he cried. Winnie's becoming a really good soldier in the army. In the evenings, both of them were too tired to move. When Harry thought about Winnie and the voyage across the ocean, his head said, "I shouldn't." His head said, "I can't." But his heart made up his mind. He knew he had to take Winnie with him. Nobody had ever tried to float so many people and animals across the Atlantic Ocean before. 30 ships sailed together, carrying about 36,000 men and about 7,500 horses and about one bear named Winnie. Yay, he is going to take the bear with him. When they finally arrived in England, the regiment went to training on Salisbury Plain, where it rained and rained and rained. But Winnie didn't seem to mind. She was the mascot of the 2nd Canadian Infantry Brigade and attended her post with vigor. One day, Harry came running while she was doing her exercises in the tent. "You'll bring the whole place down," he said with a laugh. She had grown. Oh no, Winnie's getting a little too big to climb up on those poles. In the winter, when the order came, the time had come to fight. Winnie posed proudly with the other men for pictures to send home to their families. Harry thought for a long time. His head argued one way and then the other, but his heart made up his mind. He went to Winnie and said in a serious way, "There's somewhere we need to go." Winnie brushed the mud off her nose and nuzzled in close. Oh, he really does love Winnie. Harry drove all the way to the big city. Where's he taking Winnie? "Here we are," said Harry, "the London Zoo." Harry took a deep breath. "Winnie, this is going to be your home for a while," he said. She tilted her head. "We're shipping out to France," he explained. "I have to take care of horses at the front." She rested her big head against him. "I know you want to come, but it's not safe." Winnie's head bowed. Harry's hands were warm as sunshine, as usual. "There is something you must always remember," Harry said. "It's the most important thing, really, even if we're apart. I'll always love you, and you'll always be my bear." Oh, he has to go away. He has to leave Winnie at the zoo, but he wants Winnie to remember that he loves him very much. "Is that the end?" "Well, that's the end of Harry and Winnie's story," I said. "But I don't want it to be over," said Cole. "Sometimes," I said, You have to let one story end so the next one can begin. How do you know when that will happen? You don't, I said, which is why you should always carry on. Once upon a time, there was a little boy with a stuffed bear. He'd had his bear ever since he was a baby, but somehow the boy had never found the right name for him. He tried Teddy and Edward and even Big Bear. Well, now there's this boy, and he has a bear, but he doesn't know what to name him. One day, the boy went to visit the London Zoo with his father, and there was a bear, a real bear, on the terraces there. Right away, the boy thought, there is something special about that bear. Her name was Winnie. They became true friends. The boy was allowed to come right inside her enclosure to play. Once the boy had found Winnie, he knew just what to call his stuffed bear. He named it Winnie-the-Pooh. And the boy was called Cole, said Cole. No, his name was Christopher Robin Milne. Christopher Robin would visit Winnie at the zoo, and then he would take his stuffed animal on all sorts of adventures in the wood behind his home. His father, Alan Alexander Milne, wrote books about them. Harry's Winnie became Winnie-the-Pooh, and there has never been a more beloved bear. But what about Harry? Cole asked. When Harry visited Winnie at the zoo, he saw how happy she was. She was being raised, she was being truly loved, and that was all he had ever wanted from the moment they met at the train station in White River. So, after the war, Harry returned to Winnipeg and his life as an animal doctor. Before long, he was married and had a son named Fred, and Fred had a daughter named Lorene, and Lorene had a daughter named Lindsay, which is me. And then I had a son. When I saw you, I thought, there is something special about this boy. So I named you after your great-great-grandfather, Captain Harry Colebourn. I named you Cole. Wow! The man who found Winnie in the beginning is Cole's great-great-grandfather. That's me, said Cole in a whisper. That's you. And that's Winnie? Yes, I said, that's Winnie. And it's all true. Sometimes the best stories are, I said. Cole's eyes grew big, and he said nothing for a long time. Then he hugged his old bear close and let out a yawn that reached far away, and they both turned over and fell asleep. It's Winnie-the-Pooh! That's who the world's most famous bear is, and that's what this story is about. This is how Winnie-the-Pooh became the most famous bear in the world. Oh my goodness, this was so interesting. Such a long story about that bear and everything that happened, and then that stuffed bear, and they named him Winnie, and that became Winnie-the-Pooh. I love Winnie-the-Pooh. Do you like Winnie-the-Pooh books and Winnie-the-Pooh TV shows? Winnie-the-Pooh are great stories, great books, and if you have not read any Winnie-the-Pooh books, you probably need to talk to Mom and Dad about that, because Winnie-the-Pooh books are great. And now we know that Winnie was a real bear. That's amazing. Now he's in books and he's on TV, and he was a real bear. I really liked that story. I hope you listened to the whole thing. I know it was kind of long, but it was very interesting. And now we know something we didn't know before. We know where Winnie-the-Pooh came from, and I'm happy that I know that now. Wow, this was a big night, a long night, a lot of reading. So it's time for all my little bears to grab your little bear and get into bed. I need you to get under your covers, get cuddled up, curled up, ready for a really good night's sleep. And tomorrow, if you want to tell somebody that you know where Winnie-the-Pooh came from, you can tell them all about this book. And you can even tell them to read with Miss Dorothy. They can come and see the book too. And we can teach them
what we learned. You can even tell your teacher about it. She'd be very, very impressed to know that you know where Winnie-the-Pooh came from. But remember, when you are at school tomorrow, whatever your teacher says, obey, and obey right away. And then come back and see Miss Dorothy, because I'm going to be sitting right here, ready to read another book to you. Bye!
Thanks for reading with Miss Dorothy. I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope you'll come back soon to read another. What's your favorite book? Drop Miss Dorothy a note and let me know. I'll go find it, and I'll read it to you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you soon.